We got the fan favorites. Everybody make some noise for Noah and Boy, oh boy, Noah. There are a lot of players on this stage who grew up watching you, trying to be like you. Does that influence you have? What does it prove? What does it show? What does it mean to you today?
I mean, it just makes me happy. I mean, we're both old, but we still got it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Reason, everybody's supporting you out here, man. I saw someone who had a sign of your face somewhere out there. We got people representing you all over the building. What does it mean to have the fans here in full support of you?
It honestly means everything. It was always a dream of mine, and I think every of the players here as well, so I thank you all.
Of course, you have a lot to do today in-game. How do you stay ready? How do you stay prepared to be at your very best?
I mean, first of all, we prepped a lot, but of course, I played the Reason 1v1 build fight map a lot. Best 1v1 map, make sure to check that out, and yeah, that's how we prepped.
Make sure you check that out. Noah, you're playing with someone who you played with a lot. Do you feel like that experience playing with each other over the years helped you in the lobby today?
Yeah, we got pretty good chemistry, so like we always just find each other in endgame and well.
Hey, I'm gonna hope you guys do incredibly well. I'm not gonna lie though, guys, it's the stage is getting a bit chilly up here. What's going on? Make sure you check that out, Noah.
I'm standing.
You're playing with someone who
That's what's going on, Levin. I think you've got the best player photo of all the walkouts. Can you just replicate that for me, please? Yeah, and that's how you're feeling right now, right? Super chill?
Hey,
I feel amazing.
I'm gonna hope you guys do incredibly well. I'm not gonna lie though, guys, it's the stage is getting a bit chilly up here. Make sure you check that out, Noah.
Okay,
You're playing with someone who
on the full field. People are saying that this man, he doesn't practice, but that's not true, right?
No, that's not true. He plays a lot.
So what have you been working on the most going into this, van?
Wait, say that again?
What have you been working on the most going into this competition?
Definitely our end game and our chemistry.
And what was up with the end game?
Julius weren't staying together, but now we fixed it.
Okay, so there's not going to be any solo clutching. You're always going to be the 2 in the 2v1 situation, Cold.
Yes, sir.
And who is your biggest competition here on LAN before I let you go? Who have you got your eyes on?
Nobody.
Keep your eyes on these two desks.
I mean, Fortnite fam, how can you not be hyped seeing this? I mean, all these players come out. This is the upper bracket. This is so insane. I mean, you heard duos coming out, getting the reactions from the fans. It is electric here. I mean, man, I feel a little vivid. As I kind of start to think back to the game, right? As I focus in on like having a good time, like, wait a minute, the game feels like there's one thing that's super important. It's having a game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like everybody up there on the stage has a game plan because we kind of talked about the qualification process for this LAN. We talked about how everybody had to place well to get here, and I feel like it's kind of showing in all of those interviews. Like, it's just confidence after confidence after confidence. But speaking of game plans, man, yeah, it definitely does kind of change when you do change up the format, right? We have a 3-day format, but the lobby is never going to look the same in each and every single one of these days. So I feel like in terms of preparation, right, day one duos are going to be feeling so good because they have to just straight up prepared for whatever lobby they have set forth in front of them, where we can't really see those, you know, day 2 duos kind of pop up, right? If we take a look at how Veno and Curve actually won their FNCS on the NAC region, dude, they were 10th going into day number 2, and then they ended up winning, right? But that's on the back foot of Veno just doing all of that preparation in between. We don't have the opportunity to do something like that here.
It's interesting that you say that, though, because at the same time, you have duos already in the lower bracket just waiting to see who their 25 competitors are going to be. As a reminder, the top 25 do go to Sunday, but the bottom 25 play again tomorrow. There's already kind of drop maps getting formed, ideas of where duos might be dropping, but it all depends on how today plays out.
Absolutely, and of course, so many other duels as we're seeing. I mean, Janice is looking fantastic, and I mean, you guys heard him for a moment. Obviously, we're in Germany. Lev got to talk to him. Noah, Reason, you know, there is so much hype being in this environment. I can't wait.
It's definitely going to be cool, and as you can take a quick little peek right there, the preparation definitely comes in. Saw all of the players kind of setting up their setups earlier on, making sure that they had their drop maps, you know, prepared for that. Obviously, it just kind of speaks to how important, how vital they feel like you know, the all-spawn situations are, how they need to feel comfortable that they are going to land first and have a big advantage, because, you know, these players were kind of allotted one single piece of player each to kind of bring with them on stage, and almost every single one of them, it feels like they dedicated it to the other game.
Yeah, they have the drop map, they have it right in front of them. The thing I'm thinking is, you know, we had the practice matches, but you don't want to leak your strats in a practice match when the real deal is happening tomorrow. So now today, I'm curious to see how these kind of game plans unfold. Will we actually see Clix contest Peterbot? Will we see Sky Scroll to the same strat? Only time will tell.
Well, time it is, because guess what, Fortnite fam? It is that time. Game number 1 is ready. So let's kick it on over to the casters. It's Jacob PR and the best taco.
We are here. This is the moment we've been waiting months for. The Major 1 Summit Land from 75 teams from across the world are not only battling out for over $1 million in prize money, but the top 15 spots go to the Global Championship.
The way I see it, Jacob, today is basically bonus Fortnite Nation, and I am all for it, okay? Because we know we got game 1 ready to go. Just like that, Dusseldorf, our first opportunity to really gather what is actually going to pan out here across the minimap. Jacob, we've heard so many rumors, we've seen so many shakeups, and yet here today, it's time to figure it all out.
Yeah, for months you've heard Clix and Higgs, Peterbot, Poyo, the rivalry for so long. They said, no, we're going over towards Scribbly Shores. Clix is claiming, hey, we've had enough of going against Peterbot and Poyo on their terms. Now it is our terms. It's now going to be under their own conditions, but we've also seen, we heard our analysts talk about it as well, in some of those practice games, Clix and Higgs actually went back to Wonky Land, and we're seeing it again. Clix and Higgs are going back to the drop spot they know the best.
Clix and Higgs, they're not looking to try and drop at Squibbly Shores, not here in game 1, but they're still going to have to contend with some other opponents, because now you're on home turf. But check it out, Sharktini more than expectant of this shakeup, and that is why they've already been sure to prepare for it. Darman Devish as well, just off in the distance over towards Toy Box Docks. It's going to get very rocky very soon for some of these teams, though.
Yeah, and you can already see Sharktini, Clix and Higgs. For the most part, it seems like they're going to split it, but Clix and Higgs, they're fast right out of the gates. They're pushing on over to the north side of Wonky, taking that loot, and eventually will fall back, but there's contested fights all over here in game 1. Sandy Strip, another one in the feed. I did see Mini Prio go down. It wasn't Gino, wasn't Havoc here with Pablo Wingoose. You gotta imagine, where else did they drop? Because they're not in the minimap.
But Gino and Pablo, though, they don't seem to really be all that minding of it. They're more than content to just keep gathering whatever they can find here at Sandy Strip. They know that there's bound to be a bit of a clash eventually with Victor V and Kanata, but it's no real surprise to see that everywhere else it's not so sweet. Chap trying to escape over by New Sanctuary. Things have gone awry because Flixie, he's already been knocked, so now Chap has to play for the recovery.
Yeah, they're already kind of searching where that actual elimination is. We want to know as well, it's actually going to be Flixie on top of the mountain. He did get it down onto Romero. You can see him battling in another 2v1 situation. He wins the fight. That wasn't just a knock, that was a full wipe.
Unfortunately, even if you win out with the first duo, there's always some third-party action taking place if the time to elimination isn't fast enough. And even then, you never really know what to expect because so many teams are looking for that surprise factor. But Higgs, Clix, drawing things back over to Wonky Land. They're waiting, they're trying to make opportunity here. Shark gonna make sure to try and close the distance. Wants to ensure that he can back up Teeny if necessary. Overdrive grenade just to get a little bit of the movement effects here, but they've still yet to really tango. And Shark trying to push Higgs back. Clix a little bit separated, but he's still got the high ground leverage.
Yeah, Shark and Higgs trading shots very, very quickly. You can even see from underneath, Teeny trying to join the mix, but there's a little bit of a health advantage here for Clix and Higgs, and right now it looks like they are trying to be the aggressors in this fight. We've talked almost all morning long. Will they split it? Where will Clix and Higgs go? They're going back to Wonky Land, and they're hoping to wipe out Shark and Teeny. And right now, down below, Shark and Teeny relatively healthy, but a couple couple of missing item slots and really, really low on materials.
And you just know that this is more than just a drop spot on the line here, Jacob. This is who's going to strike first and win with their pride. Clicks, Higgs, they're not looking to fold under pressure. Shark, Teeny, they knew that this was going to likely be taking place here today, but both of these duos, all they realistically need, 1, 2 solid lobbies out of our 6 games matchup.
Dude, but I just remember a few years ago, these guys just kind of showing up on the map, the top of the leaderboard. People didn't believe in them, but man, has every tune changed this weekend.
We'll get a chance to check back in with them shortly, because right now it's all about what Cole's been cooking, and right now it's Minifio on the ropes. Cole going to immediately take over, just fully boxes him up and finds that first elimination here, really trying to get some momentum building. And Cole, he said it himself in that pre-game interview, Jacob. He's ready to show what he can do.
Was no fear at all, but wait a minute, we heard the talk. Are you gonna contest us? We figured out as the game's going on, no, but Peterbot and Pollo are slowly making their way up towards the north. We've seen this in divisional cups. They're looking for eliminations here, and they did get that mythic AR, so Peterbot is gonna be able to shred through these materials. They already got a knock and elimination onto Coyote as well, which is why you see Yuma by himself in this situation.
Yuma, he's just hoping that Darkness by seniors, but Peterbot shut down. Peterbot is out of this conversation. Yuma just fully Pollo, he's forcing Pollo to make a decision now, bail out for the reboot, but he might be stuck in the middle because everybody in the vicinity saw that elimination light up in the feed, and now Yuma, he might have just bought himself so much more time because other parties, they're looking to intervene. Pollo with his back against the wall, trying to figure out where he can escape to.
Yeah, the only saving grace he has now is multiple teams look to third and fourth party in this situation. So the two solos, Yuma and Pollo, haven't to try to escape. But what they're waiting for here is for the two duos to actually start to fight it out. Until that happens, Taco, they really have little control over their game, because if they try to move out too early, either one of those duos will spot them out as a solo and try to play aggressive.
All I can think about is what took place at Globals, Jacob. When we saw Peterbot in that game 1, he made the aggressive effort against Victor V, got put down, and it definitely made a serious impact for the rest of those matches. Will that happen here today? Is he reliving the past moments? But only Pollo can really save him in this one.
Yeah, and you got a huge shout out to Asian Yuma. That is not an easy elimination there. That's not an easy player to take down, especially when you had already lost Coyote. You're by yourself, back up against the wall. If Yuma went down, he's spending 20 or so minutes watching his screen trying to figure out what happened. But big boys make big boy plays, and Yuma is looking to stay alive.
I like this though. Definitely a bit of a 180 from some of the action taking place a little bit northwest of where Acorn and Bolts are at. But Acorn, always regarded as such a strong IGL, and I'm very excited to see what exactly he's been stratting out, because every single one of these teams here today has just been anticipating some kind of bamboozlement. Nobody feels safe, nobody feels secure in their original strategies. You've got the counter strat for the counter strat for the counter strat, and now we get to see it all come to fruition.
Yep, now looking at Swizzy and Pixie. An interesting moment coming into this. Pixie, knowing he has a global champion by his side in Swizzy. When it comes to Dark Dominion, Taco, you don't see too many, when it's uncontested, players leave Dark Dominion early. They build this surge base here. Swizzy's going to be responsible for a lot of their early game damage. Meanwhile, Pixie, he's farming up extra materials, extra heals, so that way if they have to overstay their welcome in the zone, it's not a worry.
Pollo, though, definitely a little bit more concerned currently. Trying to see if he can make a play for the reboot. Is anybody close enough to try and gauge some warning shots towards Peterbot? The moment that he begins to glide down, but kind of reflecting back, I think that's where Pete is really going to have to reconsider when to hit the brakes. I understand you get that isolation, you put Yuma into a position where it should realistically just be a clean wipeout, but that's just not going to be the case. Nothing here is guaranteed. All of these teams had to fight their way to this competition.
Mais faut focus. Focus, ça règle. Oh là, on a l'auto.
You see Venno gliding down. You see the gray pistol in his inventory. So he just got rebooted as well. So not only we have one of the greats all time, but we have the current NA FNC as champions with a few early game struggles. But at least, Taco, they got the reboots back. The only big question for them is what is it going to be when Storm Surge pops?
Only time will tell. For no Riley and Reason, though. He said he's put in a lot of effort working on that Reason 1v1 map, getting in those creative sessions. Practice is everything. But now you need to put it into reality. And for right now, they don't actually have to enter an exchange with Pablo or Yepko and Panzer, but the tides could change very soon.
Yeah, as long as they have enough gold, they already have control over the vending machine towards Sandy Strip. So when it comes to the zone, it's not necessarily going to be a worry for the next two. Vico and Malibuca quick to rotate, though. We know they're landing over towards that Frigid Fortress, actual main POI, so they're going to get majority of that loot. But instead of staying up there and getting early game surge on players like iDrop, Marius, Minute, Salco, the contested fight, even Noah, Riley, and Reason, they went ahead and rotated towards the south early. And you're seeing a few teams do that compared to online leading up to this. A lot of them would kind of stay in the zone, especially if they had those extra movement abilities.
Vico's got no reason to be nervous, though. He's just got to remember who he is, and it's crazy to think about that they've sort of slid under the radar as a team favorite. I think that there's just so many stars making appearances here at this global level competition, Jacob, that it can be easy to kind of have a handful fall out of that spotlight, but they're their way back in. Same mentality for Reet and Cooper, too, side by side. Grilly and Jargoon getting a little bit more confident.
On the other side,
nice.
A little bit of the bait and switch. You distract him on one side, I'll get the wall and the elimination on the other. Mini Pio, I think, making the right decision. Why stay when you're weak, all ready to try to fight a disadvantage?
In the focus. The focus.
I know we're
not focus
now, but I'm going to come back for your reboot card later.
Love the fact that Focus and Thomas, though, have just fully infiltrated what I believe is the leftovers of Sky and Scroll's initial surge base. Comes as no real surprise, though, to see Teeny and Shark still caught in the action here with Clicks. They really want to try and see if they can get a clear elimination spree against this duo, but it's just not going to be easy because Shark, Teeny, they're the ones that are actually underneath on the surge threshold. They're forced to try and take this fight. Shark knows that he needs to be quick on his feet. He's got to try and find some consistency here. Maybe he can chop out the floor. Maybe he can break into the box, but 1 versus 2 can always be dangerous.
Yeah, and Shark is somebody, when he plays online, there's a little bit of ping differential here. He has a little bit more freedom, but they're not able to break through the boxes. I think Clicks and Higgs know exactly what's going on.
Clicks. עדיין נלחמים, וואו. נתחילת המשחק אחד על השני, יפה.
Every 7 seconds, 25 damage, but why wait for that? Teeny is down. Higgs gets that first elimination. We thought maybe they could split it, but Clicks and Higgs don't want to, and now they realize Shark's by himself. 2v1 situation. They have options here, Taco. You disengage or you go for the eliminations, and right now it's looking like they want both of those.
Shark, you've been here before. You've done it so many times in the past on your region, but here in a LAN environment, things are going to be moving very different. But Higgs,
mate.
Fortunately for him, he still has Clicks to try and play a little bit of that supportive measure, but Shark, he's not finished. He's trying to make sure that he can get that full finish onto Higgs. He needs to break through, but he can't get the damage. Shark and Teeny are out of this first lobby, and Higgs, Clicks have claimed
וואו, וואו, צחקו על פאקינג שרק, מסכנים, לא נעים לי. וואו.
And this is the moment that started it all. It was a lurk play from underneath. He drops Teeny down. He gets the knock. And even gets his medkit canceled against Shark. But by then, Taco, it's a 2v1.
וואו, לא נעים בכלל. הנה פוקוס. אני אוהד שם את פוקוס.
Dominance off rip, and that's sending a very clear message. But for Tyler and Chance, a lot of trouble currently brewing here. Minority and Darkos are not willing to let this one slip away. They know that they have more than enough damage to kind of wait this one out, and if it's going to be a battle of attrition, that's one Minority and Darkos have no issues fighting out. because they'll be able to claim one elimination in all that mess.
Yeah, we don't necessarily see where the other teams or players are at in terms of that Storm Surge leaderboard, but if you're a team like Minori and Darkos, you're above that damage threshold deep in the zone, and pull those into your box, that is a huge red flag, and they played that one perfectly. As we rotate out of Dark Dominion, you see players rotate through the tunnel, but right here, Veno and Curve knowing the map perfectly, they go right underneath and they try to take those tunnels.
Tunnels can be dangerous, though. You have to remember, there's usually going to be at least a solo, possibly even a duo, trying to camp these out. It's an affair that Swizzy and Pixie are all too familiar with, and I'm sure Veno has definitely been strategizing, definitely been trying to factor in every single possibility, but as the zones close in, as some of these teams get more and more desperate, Furious duo in a spot of trouble here. Night and Gone. They need damage. They're only 28 below. They're trying to see if they can apply some pressure to look like Chap and Flixie, but they're still sitting just underneath that threshold.
To factor in every single possibility, but as the zones close in, some of these teams get more and more desperate.
Even the other duos that are in danger.
This makes you wonder how many players at this edge of the zone, as it continues to pull towards the north, are below or on the line when it comes to that damage threshold. 1 second, you see Night and Gone. They're 1 damage above, but in that split second they fall below. 25 damage. Flixie, Chap, they're in that same boat. They had an early game fight, and this is the struggles you deal with after, whether you're above or below. There's not a bunch of confidence with single-digit numbers, and that's why Flixie and Chap, they also need loot. This is just one tough situation to get out of. Flixie's gonna get dropped. The onslaught just continues. And Chap falls as well.
Cringe is just on a rampage of his own demise here. He's got Twy coming in behind him, but now Sky looks to be a solo overhead. He's got Night and Gone, but Mad and Cold, they got to deal with Peterbot, who's now the solo. The reboot has been a success up until this stage, Jacob. Now Pete, from 6 zone onwards, has to try and fare as a solo. And with so many other teams already looking at him, will he even get a chance to touch down? Overdrive grenades, a sliver of materials. He's running through his build so rapidly, he doesn't have a chance to breathe.
Yeah, basically needs a full elimination here, worth of damage, no extra heals, and you can see his material count so low. Oh my God, he takes down Scroll. That is a second chance.
baru met.
Peterbot and Poyo go down outside of placement.
הנה פוקוס חברים, פוקוס ותומאס, אחלה פוקוס.
Especially since they had that tunnel position control, and now getting to excellently take out some of those teams that were a little bit more scuffed in that backside of zone, and they're still looking to see what else they can get away with here. Gonna pick up that leftover Chug Jug, decent amount of builds to work with too, but Reason, Riley, looking to try and get a little bit more of that. Malabuka and Biko also in a rather isolated position. It's all about who's going to expose themselves first.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough zone for a lot of the teams, especially those that might not have the materials. It's not a drastic elevation change, but you're seeing regarding to go up the side of Frigid Fortress. And you see Gino, Pablo, 50 below. They land some shots, but they're still below the damage threshold. These guys are experts. They know these single-digit numbers. It's not a reason to get desperate. You can find damage all along the way, and that is their plan from point A to point B. They're trying to elevate themselves on top. Fall below the damage threshold once more, but Pablo and Chino to get high ground.
It's insane though just how quickly that surge threshold can turn against you. And Pablo, Chino, they're still sitting at just 75 below, but when they base all the way up towards the high ground, they'll have a better opportunity to try and scope things out. But Clicks, Higgs, they're looking to make the chop. They're looking to go. They want to see if they could be the ones to take over, and they'll at least force Chino and Pablo back for a moment. But it is just topsy-turvy upside down because Cammy and Hadi from across the way just looking to take everybody out. But Clicks, he's still got the ball rolling here. Chino has fallen. Higgs credited with the elimination, but Pablo as a solo, what can he do from here?
Yeah, some people would say 7th zone, 8th zone might be up too early to take the high ground, but Clicks and Higgs, that's something that's been their game plan since the NA Central FNCS. Bahari, Cammy, they did all that damage. They disrupted everything, but it's them on top of the castle. They already have
good focus.
Look at their loadout from the slap feeds and the medkits. They have 2 different win conditions.
They've got
פוקוס נראה לי היה האחרון.
at their disposal, but whether or not teams are going to look to challenge here, Clicks and Higgs, they'll opt for frontside low ground instead. They know that they have to forfeit the high ground temporarily, but Cammy, Hottie, they got to reestablish. Malabuka lost Vico along the way, though, and just underneath them, Ritual take shots. Malabuka boxing up, but only hard match left, and they are going to be spent at a cost here. Cold and Rapid seemingly pinpointed this solo operation.
Oh, and Malabuka's daring. He tries to go ahead and get aggressive on the Cold and Rapid. Saw that one coming, immediately answered defensively, and now they're peeking over the top. Do we have high ground? Is it worth it to invest? I think it is yes, or at least for now, but you got to be careful. Agers, Ritual, they're in the rings waiting to try to, for a moment like that, to strike onto high ground. Clicks and Higgs, they lost it because of the builds. They had no more. They were forced down below, and look at the spot they're in now.
They just spent so much material when they were challenging Chino and Pablo, not realizing the kind of disaster that Cammy and Hottie were actually causing against them. And Higgs, Clicks, they've now been eliminated from the lobby. Hottie, Cammy, though, can they make this forced to continue dropping?
אני רוצה שייקח קליקס מת, אם לא אז קליקס.
That's another solo player out, so that's placement points going in. Agers is knocked. Ritual realized
אז קופר נראה לי אני רוצה. שייקח את המשחק הראשון לפחות.
But I don't think he had the chance. Fox is going to get that elimination. Noah Riley trying to do the same thing. The last of the heals, though, runs out, but they're still running outside of zone. That elimination onto Ritual that he just got is going to give him the siphon so he can make his way back into the zone with Reed and Cooper.
But Cooper, Reed, they've got a little bit of advantage here now. They know that this is only Noah Riley. They're taking no problem. Cooper with 3. Reed has 2 as well. Rapid and Cold, though, still in full control of the high ground. And with the way that the zone has pulled Jacob over this shifting elevation, it has posed so many issues for these teams down below. Cold and Rapid also continuing to apply steady pressure. They've got the flow grenades if they need them. And Acorn, unfortunately, he's got to do it all his own.
Yeah, and at this stage of the game, top 8, you got 5 players running around as solos. At least half of the placement points have been awarded. So this is the stage in the game where you really become a difference maker. Azarm picks up that elimination on a Minori. Pixie using the last of his heals. He's just trying to scrape together any extra placements. Maybe a free shot from the backside of the box.
אחי.
But Pixie gets sent right back to the lobby. He truly might be the hero.
And Hero feeling good after that one. 7 eliminations in total is a solid start here in game 1. But Reed, Cooper, they want more than that. They want to see if they can win this one outright. Front side, fully in their control. Looking back where Reed's gone down. Cooper was targeting ahead, and Reed wasn't able to answer. They're going to be the ones taking over.
In the box and took them down with ease. We know Golden Rapid all around high ground. Yapko, Panzer, they're on below. Hero is still in the backside of the zone. He's disrupting everything until he eventually falls. Yapko and Panzer, they do get the elimination and make a desperate attempt to go outside of the zone and pick up the materials. But Rapid and Cold, they see how weak they are. They're dropping down from above. They're trying to keep the win condition intact, but he gets sent flying up. Rapid boxing with a ramp. Cold gets the down. 2v1 situation here. Panzer and Cold, they trade shots, but Cold will not go down.
Whoa!
They win game 1 with ease.
אני בהלם שהם ניצחו את זה.
Just had the ultimate cutoff there. They knew exactly what needed to be done, and they took every single step possible to take over.
Guys, that was an absolute masterclass in the high ground. Stand up so Dusseldorf can see you. Cold, how did you know that the time was right to take height?
I mean, that's all Rapid, you know, this is what he does, you know, he's the best RG on the world, and he showed it right there.
So all you needed to do was listen. So Rapid, how did you make that call?
Makla, descent height, that might have been the easiest lobby ever.
Do you think that people just were not wanting to challenge on height anymore? Because you had it for like 3 zones, unchallenged.
I mean, yeah, nothing they could do.
Nothing they could do. You make the drop down, you're up against Yapko and Panzer in that 2v2 situation. Who's making the call to go upwards and try and get that shot? Because you were flying Cold.
It was kind of both of our call, you know, like we knew that we needed the kill points, and that's exactly what we did.
You got so many eliminations in that game. So from here onwards, 5 more games to make it out of the upper bracket. You're not going to play it safe, are you?
No, we're not.
I can't wait to see even more eliminations from you guys. Do you own the high ground now? Do you own it?
Of course. I own every kind of ground.
Well, these guys, they found that Victory Royale a little bit too easy. So let's see if any of the duos can make it tricky after the break.
That's crazy. The weather change here in Germany. Suddenly a cold front's coming in. That's right. It happened. I cannot believe this just happened. Game number 1. Cold and Rapid come out swinging.
Come out swinging, man. A big change in strategy, too. We'll look up. It's like, what the heck? Cold and Rapid are up on the high ground. For anybody that doesn't typically watch NA, man, usually you can find these guys mid-ground, low-ground, kind of feeling comfortable down there. But you heard them after that game. They were like, yeah, man, kind of just sent it.
Yeah, and he said it was free too, which is the most interesting part. I mean, if we looked before that, there were so many height retakes. They just took it at that perfect moment. And I mean, it was just playing it by the book after that. But not only did they secure a nice clean win, look at the amount of eliminations that Cold is just picking up back to back to back. These AR shots do not miss.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be all about the refreshes. You can see them continually picking up all of those eliminations. And when we were kind of jumping around from POV to POV, when we were watching height kind of get crazy, right? When we saw like 4 different teams kind of find themselves up on the high ground over the course of, what was that, like 60 seconds? The material counts for all of those teams were just so shambles that they had no chance to actually hold it for the rest of the game. So when you tune into a team like Cold and Rapid, and they are picking up those eliminations, they are picking up those refreshes, they're picking up those extra materials, they are in a healthy enough spot to actually go for the high ground and hold it, and that is exactly what they did.
Absolutely crazy stuff out of Cold and Rapid. Remember, we just need to be in the top 25 to secure ourselves a spot in on Sunday for finals, and after this game, I feel like we are looking really, really good. I can't wait to see the standings as well, because remember, all of these dudes are thinking the same thing. We just need that good game. We need to make sure we're keeping up in the top 25, but seriously, Cold and Rapid, what the heck? I love that you kind of call out. What are they doing on high ground? What's crazy too is even looking in for a moment there, Clix and Higgs decide, hey, we're gonna go for this height, and everyone in the lobby was like, hey, don't let that happen up there. What are we doing?
No, Clix and Higgs actually had a very good approach to that high ground. Ritter was like, oh my gosh, they're getting a free chop. They get the chop. The high ground team's kind of falling down. They had no mats. They were just like that close from actually stealing away the high ground. But unfortunately, yeah, the lobby was like, well, no, we're not going to let that happen.
Not today. Well, look, guys, after that last win, guess what? We've got a listen in from that moment. Take a look.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you in a sec. You're not really connected by much. I should have probably connected to you nice.
Look side, that's like a high team. If you see a map on, make sure you comment.
You literally just got to make sure, like, you know, we're up here. Okay, miss this, we can jump down to the side of the hill and get a little bit closer to him. I think we should. Pick that up.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I'm missing this, I'm gonna go down. You don't have, you can stay up if you want, you can stay up.
I like that.
51. Yeah, I'm gonna try. Nice.
Hey,
let's fucking go, baby, come on, let's go.
Calm, cold, collected is how this duo was feeling. And I mean, look, they were excited, but it looked like it was just another day in the battle bus. I mean, it just looked like a normal day for this duo. The confidence is there. We heard it in the pre-game interview, and now closing it out. Look, there is one thing I do want to bring up here. It's not my EU bias, I promise. Okay? Not my EU bias, but all the top 3 teams that were in that final zone land at the northeast side of the map. We had a northeast zone.
Put that out there. All right, let's take a look at standings real fast. We got to take a look at how everything else is shaping up for the rest of the lobby already. Look at the points, aren't crazy, but want to highlight here for you, second place, Yapko and Panzer. Showing up in this 2v2 NA versus you, I'm sorry, being unbiased. This was crazy, right? We even saw some shots out of Yapko and Panzer taking down Rate and Cooper, just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the 3 duos here, right? You had Cold and Rapid, obviously, you know, full chilling up on the higher gun, and then you had Yapko and Panzer, one of the only 3 duos left, and the other duo that was kind of alive in the mix once we got into the top 10 was Rate and Cooper. But as soon as Yapko and Panzer kind of had an opportunity to take it to Rate and Cooper on the low ground, I'm not gonna lie, it happened so fast. Panzer and Yapko just hit some clean shots. Watch this kind of phase in right here. Clean shots from both of them to go ahead and secure the second place. And in the mix, we also see Hero off in the distance. Hold up,
Hero. 8X FNCS Shams as a duo, but yeah, Yapko Panzer, they were out of match. They made the aggressive play, and it worked. I was getting a little nervous for Cold there when the initial shot from Panzer came through, but in the end, Cold Rapid did take the win. But hey, second place, kicking things off. As a reminder, it is top 25 to move on to Sunday, so all of these teams we just saw are looking incredibly strong.
That's right, man. Every single interaction is going to matter, right? We only have 6 games to end in the top 25, and as you kind of called out, we saw Hero from Middle East in that moment, top 3 as a solo, mind you. In the chaoticness that is this crazily stacked lobby, Hero shows up big and clutches.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be feeling good after a game like that for all of these teams that are picking up just so many points. Be curious to do some math over the course of the day to kind of get some expectations for what top 25 will actually look like. But yeah, game 1 right here, coming out of the gate swinging. It might just be the only game some of these teams really need to actually pick up enough points.
Yeah, a lot of the pressure is lifted after that for these teams that got not only top 3, even top 5. I know FKS Hero, they're happy they switched to South Latte Landing for this day. The question is, I mean, FKS Hero aren't contested, but for example, Cold Rapid are. So now they have kind of that freedom, that lifted pressure to play a bit more aggressive now.
I will say though, Cold and Rapid were kind of expected, like you said, to be contested. I don't think they were that game. They did actually take advantage of some of the contestation that's kind of going on towards Sandy. That's where they picked up some of their early elims, picked up some of that early surge that they could kind of, you know, snowball into the end game. So keep an eye on the early game towards that way.
And I do just have to wonder, obviously this being the first game in this environment for many of these teams, maybe it's their first time. There's a lot of jitters, right? When you kind of get put in this situation, you're not at home and in the comfort of your home, the comfort of your setup, you know, you don't have your shoes kicked off, you don't have your desk a certain way, right? Your monitors, this is a completely different environment. So, you know, this being game number 1, I'm just going to chalk this up to like, hey, just let's get game number 1 out of the way. Now we could kick things off gracefully, right?
Look, a big team that I'm looking at in terms of the pressure, the nerves, perhaps, it's Sharkantini. They were contested at Wonkyland by Clicks and Higgs, and this is a team that they have what it takes. They've proven that they have what it takes, but I'm sensing a bit of that pressure. I'm sensing a bit of those LAN nerves. Now, the good news for Sharkantini is that they have all, you know, upper bracket to play out, get top 25, and then if they make it through, they have a whole other 8 matches on Sunday to truly show what they're capable of.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big talking points over towards Wonky Lane was confidence levels. I mean, Clicks and Higgs, for whatever reason, played this long game, kind of talking about, hey, we're not even going to be landing Wonky. And then, boom, surprise, they're here. And now Sharkantini might be kind of caught off guard because we could see in that early game how much respect they actually gave towards the way of Clicks and Higgs. Like, at one point, we were kind of looking around and it was like, wait, whoa. Are Sharkantini even landing Wonky? They did eventually land, but they took, like, such little loot that Clicks and Higgs were kind of given almost the entire POI for free.
It's crazy too how long I felt like that fight went on, right? Like, you know, when we saw these practice games, don't want to, like, you know, dig too much into those, but we saw this go a certain way, and to see like this super long way in the zone, and even in that situation where Shark was by himself, it's like, oh man, you know, like it's, you know, let's close it up. Shark's like, oh, hey Higgs, go down to 3 HP. Hold on a minute. I was like, wait, hold on. Is he about to come back? Is he about to clap back?
It's funny. When we were watching that, I remember Zeke was telling me, he's like, so God, I think they're taking a little too long. Like this fight has staggered out too long. I'm like, it staggered out too long 10 minutes ago, right? Like they've been here way too long. This is not finishing. So the pressure, you know, it might be on both ends, but Clicks Higgs are definitely looking more confident for now.
Obviously, one of the big talking points coming into this weekend was the NA on NA action. One of those instances, of course, was Cooper and Reet versus Aiders and Ritual. They did not fight in the early game, but we actually see both of those teams find themselves in the top 10, right? Cooper and Reet in 4th place right there. Aiders and Ritual in 7th place. So honestly, I feel like both teams potentially kind of feeling comfortable splitting that split chop up towards the north side of the map. I know Reet and Cooper were kind of talking about it. Hey, you know, if the day is going bad for either one of us, I'm expecting the fight to be taken by maybe somebody, but I don't really expect it to happen, right?
I mean, I don't know. Time will tell. What I'm seeing is a lot of NA teams on that top 10, top 5 on the leaderboard. So I'm curious to see if that trend's going to continue, or we might see things mix up a little bit as the day goes on.
Absolutely. And I wanted to focus here on Cammy and Hari, right? We saw them for a little bit, right? Back on height. Tokata, you were saying, wait a minute, is this a blast of the past or what?
Look, if I was a couple years ago and I'm, you know, sitting down and I hear you come and tell me, hey, you know, 2026, we're at an international event. It's Cammy Hari. They win the first game on high ground. I mean, there's a duo. You know, Cammy has already been ahead of the meta, but it was more a low ground team you would expect. But now recently in 2026, especially going to duos, we have seen them play a bit more high ground. We have seen them play a bit more aggressive. If you think back to Cammy and Seti, they haven't been the strongest fighters. And now I am seeing a lot more confidence with this duo.
And you're talking about kind of controlling the high ground, but any single time we see one of our duos kind of take high ground around 8th zone, anytime we kind of shoot into POV, immediately turn your eyes to their material account, which is exactly what I did right here when it was the case of Cammy and Hari, because yeah, they had high ground. They had 30 builds to work with. Like, you're in 8th zone. You got so much more Fortnite to play after that. There's no way you can kind of continue throughout the rest of the end game with that material count. You're going to have to make something happen, which is why I'm always a big fan of judging any of those type of plays where the early high ground takes kind of happen.
Yeah, I mean, when you take height with that low math, it's kind of an all or nothing. You got to get a refresh then and there, because you're not going to be able to keep building out. You're not going to get forward height. Like, you are all or nothing in those moments. And the amount of teams that tried taking height after that, not only Clicks Higgs, it was just back to back until eventually Cold and Rapid at the perfect moment took it, and they had a good amount of materials. So it was a pretty, you know, by the book cleanup.
Yeah, what's interesting too is, remember, like, obviously when we watch these things, there is an overarching meta, right? But then the moment we not even just summit, right? It doesn't matter what stage of the competition is, there's always a meta within that meta that develops. And so it's interesting that, like, even in this game one, that high ground, really, no one was willing to just let it go. How many times have we seen just like, oh, hey, a team just showed up and on high ground, and they've just been up there. We keep saying the same thing. Hey guys, let's look up, but hit the summit. Everyone's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm just going to peek up. Someone's up there. Let me just help that out.
Yeah, I mean, the end games obviously are going to play out extremely differently from game to game. I do want to kind of turn our conversation over to the early game. Obviously, we did talk a little bit about wonky lane, right? We got Clicks and Higgs versus Sharkatini. Obviously, because Clicks and Higgs are landed over there at wonky lane, guess who's going to be uncontested? Peterbot and Polyo over at Squibbly. With that being said, right, they want to be uncontested. They don't want to take that early fight off spawn, that is. Early fights are kind of their bread and butter. You can see they're kind of pushing around the map, but I feel like they kind of got humbled a little bit that game.
Look, I'm going to shout out my man, Levin2K here, because we were talking to Pete yesterday, and there's this thing that, you know, happens every now and then. Pete gets really confident. He goes in quickly to try and get a quick finish, but either he takes a big loss of shield and HP, and then he has to heal up. Polyo makes it there, they take the fight again, and they win it. You know, there's pretty standard. They get a bunch of eliminations over time, but you're in an international event. I mean, if you go down, you can see it kind of just sets you up for a staggered situation. Zone pulled, you know, east from them after that. I think you got to kind of just, you know, focus up, take the competition a bit more seriously.
Interesting stuff. I'm actually curious. You guys kind of talked about this early game and, you know, Clicks and Higgs versus Sharkatini. We actually have elicited from the beginning of the game. Let's take a look.
It's a keyboard player. We're double scroll wheel. Yeah. They have to sidekick us so they guarantee lose. Yeah. I'm trying to think, bro. Why are they doing this?
Bro, because they want to have a good game one.
I don't think they landed here, bro.
I didn't see them, bro. God, I didn't.
I saw one short, but it could have been for jungle.
I'm going to throw a fake shock.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, go.
Stay crouch.
40, cracked. No,
Full
not
crouching,
cracked, not cracked. Not making noise. Nice, coming. Teeny, come King Shark.
Just so crazy. I love, again, this is like what's the best part of the lane, is immediately getting to hear directly from the players. Even in that moment, right? Like, what a crazy play. Hey, I'm setting up a fake shock. And you even saw it there. Shark's like, oh, I heard it. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait.
And you got to think, right, for Sharkatini, over the course of the rest of the weekend, they're going to be thinking about that moment. Any single time they hear one of those overdrives come, they're like, wait a minute, I don't know if they're actually...
not buying it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's also pretty cool that we kind of listened in at a pretty pivotal part of that early game, in the sense that Clicks and Higgs were kind of confused as well. They were like, wait a minute, like, did they land here? Like, where were they? He was like, oh, I think one landed short. I think one was like over there. So they actually didn't even kind of know what was going on. I mentioned that. I was like, wait a minute, are they even going to land there on them? So Clicks and Higgs were kind of feeling the same sentiment.
I was just as confused because Sharkatini had a very similar drop to Demish and Darm, who are, I mean, they're close to Wonky Land, but it's a completely different drop. And they were like on the same height. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, where are they? It was the same confusion that Clicks and Higgs were having. But then the fight ended up staggering a lot. But as we saw, that overdrive play, I mean, that worked incredibly well. It got them a pick. They were put in a 2v1, and Higgs did get dropped to maybe like 5-10 HP, but in the end, they won the fight, and that's truly what matters.
Absolutely. So, guys, what do you think? Again, we're just trying to be the top 25. We're trying to be the upper half of the lobby after these 6 games, 5 more. What do we need to change for game number 2?
I mean, for a lot of these teams, it's got to be the early game. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the teams who kind of found success during that game, but I feel like when we jumped into the game and watched for like a minute, there was like 90 players alive super fast, which means that basically 5 teams instantly went down, which is kind of to be expected because we know that there is a lot of teams that are kind of contesting each other around the map. The approach to the early game is going to be the difference for a lot of these teams.
Well, it's time to see if they can make those adaptations. Again, this is game number 2. Nobody freak out. I'll do it for you. Casters, over to you.
Hey, game 1 did not disappoint, that is for sure, Jacob. I mean, I know that we were definitely expecting to see a little bit of those drawn-out fights, the original starting points getting a little shaky, but it's going to be an uphill battle for some of these teams already.
Yeah, you kind of look at the Clicks and Shark fight over at Wonky Land. Even though Clicks didn't have the most phenomenal performance, they outplayed Shark and Teeny. Can that repeat? Game 2 is here, so let's jump right in.
יאללה, משחק שני, FNCS. Let's go.
Game passes, you kind of have to look at your spot on that leaderboard. You know it's top 25 that get that qualification to Championship Sunday, and the bottom 25 have to do it again tomorrow. So you don't need to win every single game. You just need to do good enough.
for Muzz Sphinx. All they really want to win right now is the off-spawn contention. Nebs, Nathan, though, a little bit faster to the punch, but not going to be able to connect the shots. No lineup. Muzz skirting off into the building. We'll be able to gather some resources, so these two are going to have to meet head-on at a later point.
Yep. For now, it's just kind of load up, give ourselves a little bit of a fair fight. Chap, Flixie, Romero and his duo. This is something that we caught very, very early on. I believe it was Chap that was able to get both of those eliminations, and then we saw him down later because of the third parties. And now it goes, they both grab their respective floor loadout, and it's Flixie that gets the best of Romero first.
Some tough breaking point right now for the Argentinians. Lewa going to be left to try and pick up the pieces here, but for Chap, he's now going to look to just prioritize keeping a little bit of a lockdown position here. They don't want to let Lewa escape. They would obviously love to have some more elimination points if possible. And not only that, but you got to keep your head on a swivel in these lobbies. You can never stop anticipating a third party intervening.
Yeah, just all these contested fights all over the map. I saw some action going down in the feed as well for Latte. That's not too far away from here. But Yapko, Panzer, Jonas, Fellows, they're the ones across from each other. And another one of those contested fights where, yes, they can go ahead and play aggressive towards one another, but in the early portions of this, they will at least want to give themselves a loadout so they're not playing mostly on luck.
But I'd argue that this is a much worse position currently for Jonas and Falos, because you have to remember, Yapko, Panzer, they've already had one solid lobby, and in a 6-game format for top 25, most of the heavy lifting has been completed. So now, Falos and Jonas, they're going to be stuck having to try and escape, stay out of Panzer and Yapko's line of sight. They're looking to get more aggressive right from the start. They have gotten their revenge here in this second lobby.
I wish Zeke would have asked them what they need to do different, because it feels like they did exactly that. In game one, we saw them fly high. They didn't go to the closest drop marker down below, and that made it late to take over Wonky Land. This time around, it looks like they got aggressive. They went ahead and pushed the fight over to Clicks and Higgs. The first down is there. Clicks in a 2v1. You can see him trying to make a play, but Taco, by then, it's too little, too late. Shark and Teeny get their get back.
Look, I understand that Teeny is definitely very strong when it comes to those lurk play opportunities, but sometimes you just got to let Shark's natural instincts take over. That upfront and aggressive close combat sort of style is definitely going to work out in their favor, because Clicks and Higgs, we even heard it in their call out briefly before this matchup started. They were expecting them to play it much more passive. They know that all you need is 1-2 good lobbies and you're through the top 25. And you don't want to be watching if you're Clicks and Higgs currently, because Sharktini, how many times have you seen them contested at Wonky Land? It's been happening all season long, Jacob. And sure, that was just in the EU department, but even at a global level, preventing Shark and Teeny from converting an off-spawn into a top 5 finish, I would be a little worried about that.
Yeah, and you can kind of see right here, Vico Malvuka, Frigid Fortress. Wondering maybe, where did Vico get that elimination while uncontested? Well, Taco, let me tell you, he actually took down Agers from Frigid Fortress, really playing a role in that fight. No, O'Reilly's going to go down. Razan's going to be by himself. 1v2 situation. Well, let's see how good his practice map actually is.
Reason he's doing what he can to try and get away, but Veloz looking to chase this one out. They need some kind of recovery point, but Reason, he might be running straight into the heart of where Yapko is currently based up, but Veloz might be forced to give up the chase. Don't want to expend too many resources too early on, especially when you know that Painted Bombs currently belongs to Panzer and Yapko. The juice just isn't worth the squeeze, so Reason will manage to escape, but it might only be a temporary relief, because Yapko and Panzer, they might have a good idea of where exactly the solo's at.
Yeah, and you just got to be very cognizant of where the zone is actually pulling, because right now, you can kind of see the edge of it, so it seems like it might be pulling away from the northeastern part of the map. Only time will tell. Asayas, Scary, going for a lurk play. They already win their off-spawn fight, but that's not going to be enough. Clinician's wide. It looks like they're trying to sneak up on them that already have their base secured, so it might not be the best idea. So I do like this Asayas and Scary. Instead of trying to push in a fight that you might not need, they go ahead and disengage and continue their game.
BOT, unfortunately, a victim of Thomas HD and Focus. That one elimination is going to try and propel them forward as they're looking to get the secondary component. LB Works just barely managing to get away, but it's only going to be a short-lived instance. Focus and Thomas get a little bit of a run back here to see how exactly that all broke down for BLT, and unfortunately, yeah, Thomas just too quick with it, waiting on that opposite angle.
Yeah, almost makes me wonder, is that a part of their strategy after kind of realizing in game one, we might need to get a little bit more aggressive for Surge, whether it's close range or long range. But Thomas, Focus from Riptides to that elimination, they're already on the move. Sky and Scroll as well from the north side of Battlewood. They did exactly what Veno said they should have done. Switched up their game plan because what they were doing should not have worked. And now Sky and Scroll, instead of overstaying their welcome at Battlewood Boulevard, they instantly rotate the Dark Dominion.
I've already recognized the fact that this lobby is moving at a different pace entirely, and they don't want to be left behind. Staying one step ahead of the pack is always going to be difficult, though, especially with the way that some of these other teams are playing. Hobby and Aminish, after that first game performance, they found themselves just inside of the top 10, and they're looking to hold on to that position.
Fights don't stop. Chap and Flixie from one to the next. They win their off-spawn fight, and sure, essentially, that new Sanctuary would be uncontested to themselves, but after that, you see them rotating out through the tunnel. They put themselves in a 2v1 situation. Nutty's going to be the only one down below, and there's really no options. They closed off each end, and they're really trying to make their numbers advantage work, pressuring in zone after zone. Nutty's just trying to go ahead and run away now, and this might be his only chance at survival.
Well, Flixie sent a little bit further back than what had originally been intended there, but Chap's still going to get Chase cut off yet again by the top of that tunnel, and that might have been just enough delay for Nutty to slip away. But even still, Jacob, relatively low on materials, doesn't have any metal, needs to get a reboot off for Yabzeta, and there are other teams still looking to try and enter New Sanctuary, and whether or not they're also a team that's looking to try and refarm some of those elements, it's not going to be very easy for Nutty to find this reboot anytime soon.
Yeah, for Chap and Flixie, though, I like that lack of desperation for that elimination. They say, hey, he's going in New Sanctuary, he's going to have to come out eventually, and they're just going to wait instead of waiting and moving in and possibly getting lurked, just like you see Janice and Cheatin doing here to Controller. Haman, I'm not sure if he's there anywhere nearby, but he desperately needs to get some sort of a signal because they are gearing up right now to break through the wood, land a good shot on a Controller, but he got the signal just a little too late. He's in the box, they're not trying to let him out, and they do not let it happen. That first knock, that one's going to be easy. Haman is almost nowhere in sight. So for Cheat and Janice, that was a free elimination.
They definitely need to start establishing some territory pretty soon here. Haman, though, stuck inside of their surge base, but if he's that high up, Jacob, you have to wonder how exactly were Cheatin and Giannis able to slip by the watchtower, and now Haman forced to try and figure out, do I stick around? Am I going to be able to disengage? Or will I just be lit up the moment that I try to escape my position?
I will say the saving grace, though, for him is the zone is pulling away from that spot. So eventually, everybody will have to go, and he'll get at least a chance at that reboot card. But you can kind of see in Cheatin's inventory, literally seconds before, he had bandages in there. So you can see they're lacking a ton of loot, and that elimination's got to help them tenfold. Let's jump on our winners of game one, 101 points, Cold and Rapid. They said, hey, this one for them was a little easy. They got high ground. I don't think anybody had a chance to look up.
They were playing that first lobby as if it was an opens, Jacob. It did not seem like it was a Summit Major LAN appearance because they just had so much control and they never once hesitated with any of their decisions. So the composure very clearly matching their mentality right now. But Yuma, Koyota, scenes over by Frigid Fortress. Could be heating up pretty soon here. Koyota doing what he can to try and stay out of the line of sight there from Vico and Malibuca. You know, they're likely to be lurking. Rapid Coldo, they might have just caught maybe a Pupu completely off guard, completely sandwiching this duo. They're both so low on HP, and Rapid, he knows there's only one good thumb shot left to make this elimination happen.
Yeah, Cold, Rapid, It almost feels like they chased these guys down in game one. That's how they're able to get their early surge and eliminations, and they're trying to stick to the game plan. Zone is moving over towards the northwestern part of the map, so as soon as they can find this elimination here and clear a path, they won't have much to worry about outside Reed and Cooper. We're at Latte Landing. They know they have their long launch pad then, so they're not in a rush either. And this has kind of been the meta this season. With the shockwaves, with the gauntlets, you can go ahead and travel a long distance in a short time. So you're seeing with the surge changes coming in, more and more teams staying inside of the zone early on.
But the bigger issue that was building there was where Cooper was actually based at. He had the full cutoff point there for Mini PO. He's forcing them to rotate through Painted Palms, and eventually they're going to run straight into where Yapko and Panzer were at just to try and evade two other duos. So it's not like they have a clear-cut path in front of them. You know, Peterbot and Pollo, they're also taking a little bit more of a scenic tour. They definitely want to start trying to build a little bit more cushion zone in the points department, because 8 is not where we would anticipate to see this duo after that first lobby.
Yeah, and underneath, Venno Curve just rotating on by. I thought for a second maybe they're just lurking around, but nope, you just can't freely pass Peterbot and Pollo when they're that high in the sky. They got a huge vision advantage over everybody else. So Venno and Curve sneaking by, making sure they don't take a single shot of damage. Up top, Peterbot and Pollo, they're going to use the Fizz, the Shockwave. That's how they're going to make it to zone. Alex and Reckless, they moved in from the far eastern side of the map over towards Sandy Strip, and typically for teams that do land on the outskirts, they do rotate into POIs just like Sandy Strip to go ahead and replenish what they're missing from their drop spot.
One above, one below, Reckless on the rooftop. Alex now starting to rotate back through his duo's building as Reed, Cooper checking back in on them. And what's been brewing here at Latte Landing, recognizing the fact that they haven't been taking that immediate engage with Agers and Ritual. These two teams from NAC kind of just recognizing the fact that maybe we play to our own strengths before we look to try and take out the other.
Yeah, and this is one of those spots I've been talking about, Latte Landing. There's a launch pad back here that takes you higher and further than most of the other launch pads on the map. And then you mix it with the Flowberry Fizz like you see Reek and Cooper doing there. You almost fly so high you're out of render distance, but Peterbot and Pollo, they didn't get that same chance. It didn't work out in the same manner. They end up in a scuffle underneath, but it's not just them. It's not just Curve and Venno who are also nearby. There are 3 teams directly here with 2 more on the outskirts.
But this isn't the first time that we've seen Beat and Pollo essentially getting cut off by Venno and Curve. I don't know what Venno has been getting up to, but it really feels like he's got a lot of cutoff points set up specifically to engage with Pete and Pollo. Could be pre-firing that. We are only in game 2 after all, Jacob, but Venno, Curve, they got their damage and now they're getting out.
Yep, go into the tunnel where they have that secret porta potty to go ahead and teleport themselves through as Peterbot and Pollo continuing to try to move towards the west. But that's Hari and Cammy there on the other side. And they were honestly disruptors of that last game, probably being a huge focal point of why Peterbot and Pollo got down. I'm not sure if this is an act of revenge or just maybe early damage for Storm Surge. Either way, Peterbot looks to not slow down here.
Pete Pollo definitely been very aggressive, and that's exactly why 143 below on surge damage. And if they keep taking these odd shots over at Cammy and Hottie, they're bound to get a little bit of Hottie nearly getting the finish there onto Peterbot, but good tags exchanged from both ends. It's going to mean that Pete has to step back. Pollo now looking to take over that aggressive front, but Pollo eats another decent punt tag there from Hottie. Cammy doing a great job at just keeping everything closed off.
Yeah, and you see they got what they wanted. They won the exchange for the most part, but they get caught lacking. Peterbot not missing a shot, getting that first down on the Hari. But you see, Taco, they're still 27 below the damage threshold. They needed more than just a full elimination worth of damage, so they have to continue to be on the hunt. Right now, it looks like they're looking for Cammy as a solo, but you see there's plenty of opportunities right in front of them.
That went from being the dream scenario for Cammy and Hottie to an absolute nightmare. And now Cammy trying to see if he can enact his own revenge here, but Pete, quick with the cutoff. Pete here to remind everybody exactly who he is in this moment, but he'll be forced to just keep things moving forward. He got the damage he was after. He doesn't want to spend any more time here on Cammy, and he's left Cammy in the dust, stuck dealing with Surge and everything else in between.
It's a 5-tick zone. There's no more heals. He has to make it in now. The timing has never been perfect. He gets into the zone. The elimination to Cammy. The siphon comes in, and now they have a Fizz. They are above the damage threshold, Taco, but when you look at their loadout, they're in desperate need of loot.
They might be able to clash with a handful more teams. It all depends on whether or not they actually want to try and make some sort of a dead side approach. You also have to remember that there are going to be other duos looking to try and scale up this mountain phase. The zones over by Wonky can be very brutal to actually retain any sort of materials, and when you are a duo that's already clinging on for just those last little bits of scraps, Chino, Pablo, kind of a similar position here. They might have a little bit of damage to be just above for the moment, but will that stay true?
Yeah, in the next zone, that's going to get flipped upside down more than certainly. See Minute down on the side of that mountain. You said it yourself. Making up and scaling the summit here is going to be near impossible. Only the best will survive. Scroll, Sky, they see them down to just one individual. Sky, and he's below the damage threshold. 132, essentially needing an elimination, and he needs it now. Storm Surge will activate. He will take that 25 damage every 7 seconds.
Probably happy to just be leeching off of Size. There's Flowberry Miss Grenade, but first, can he break out away from Size? Looking back, sees there is a solo behind me. He might be able to be the cutoff point, but instead, recognizing I've just got to keep things moving forward. Such a low material count here, though, Jacob. If he can find that solo, if he can get that elimination, the refresh would buy him so much time instead of having to play for the backside of zone.
Yeah, and climbing the mountain wasn't hard enough. Peterbot and Pollo go down before they reach the top of that mountain. The zone pulling all the way across, so we're going to go through varying different elevation changes, and if you don't have the materials, Taco, good luck to you, but Sky somehow finds a way to get above the damage threshold. 50 teams still alive, so even so Storm Surge deactivates here, it will not officially turn off in this game until there's 40 or less players standing.
Sky is so trapped right now. Vico and Malabuka definitely sniffed out his position, but they also know why take the risk. They have the options, the opportunity to try and make their way towards the next high ground point, and Sky still has a solo from behind, takes down Science, takes out Repairs, the siphon kicking in, the lifeline has been extended, but can he actually make it up the mountain face? Another siphon to bail him out momentarily, but for Strokey, he might just be the one to shut Sky's fate down to a limit here, and Sky can't continue working his way up. He's out of this one, but at least got 3 eliminations.
Yeah, even though those eliminations were good, he just got no mobility from it, and that's what eventually caused his downfall. But you can see they're not going down without a fight. Our top 25 teams left in this game. That means placement points are starting to play a role. And with every team that falls, they'll cascade further and further until you get that victory royale. And obviously, eliminations make the difference throughout the test of time in FNCS. We've seen it play a role multiple times.
Guess who's on the high ground currently? It's Acorn and Bolt, and this is practically their backyard. Starting off over by Storm Station, they haven't really had to move too far away from home, and almost 1,300 damage above. They are completely smothering this lobby and not allowing anybody to even remotely consider trying to challenge them on height. All they've got to do is keep spraying out that secondary height layer, and even the duos that are trying to see if they can overdrive their way forward, they're just getting cut off entirely. Bolt and Acorn, along with the rest of the lobby, the catastrophe is taking place. No one can survive.
Yeah, as we see, they're going off the side of the mountain again, going down, maybe a little bit of hills in the way for Pablo. Chino, you see they have very little materials, no extra heals. Even though Storm Surge is no longer a worry in this game, it's about where they're going to get the elimination, and Kiruo from the flank is able to get one. He gets back to back by himself to make miracles happen.
Hey, better than a last-minute fill, and what else could you possibly ask for than getting those points delivered at your front door? Malabuka, now looking to see if they can have possible challenge here on height. Malabuka still looking. They're going to drop, but it's momentary. They see Tyler, Matt and Cole, too many duos. A little bit too close for comfort here. Malabuka without any material. He's waiting to see if Vico can actually play catch-up, but Vico left behind. He's just got to find his own elimination here. A refresh is everything currently, and there's no one in front of him.
Oh, we found old builds. This is absolutely perfect. No material left. Even with them both still alive, they reunite finally back into the same box. But this is where they need elimination. The zone is going to push some players over, not directly in their path, but give them a chance just like that. A much-needed Elim was found by Malabuka.
Yapko and Panzer are still doing their thing, though. 5 eliminations already for Yapko, 6 in total for this duo, but they know there's still a team hanging out all the way in the high ground. Will they get the chance to chop? First, we're going to bring down Giannis. Next,
Logo fucking Thomas.
See if they can chop out his floor, but they just barely managing to escape in the moment. Acorn and Bolts, though, just look at what they are doing to the rest of this lobby. They are forcing all of these teams underneath them to just burrow underground.
Look how many builds they have, Taco, because it's going over their mountain. Yes, I said it. Acorn and Bolts, they claim this mountain. It pulls up towards this drop spot, and they are not letting up off the gas. This is their perfect opportunity, not only climb up that leaderboard, but potentially take first. But there's still so many waiting in the wings. You see Shark, Teeny still alive. Vico fighting for every inch in this game. He gets the down on the guard. The siphon is needed by Vico, but the onslaught won't stop. Demus is there, trying to get revenge, but he's fallen as well. Vico stands tall.
Vico's right at home, finding that fragger opportunity, and now playing catch up to the rest of the lobby. But Shark, he's been taken out. Yapko and Panzer are going to be the first to catch up to him. Bolts, Acorn still causing so much of a delay, though, in terms of where Yapko goes next. He's forced to drop, trying to just stay out of their line of sight, trying to see if he can huddle underneath some of these leftover builds. But Bolts, Acorn, they're taking their sweet time. They know that there's a handful of solos underneath them, so why rush it as Vico's clearing out the lobby all by himself?
Still trying to find more eliminations here. Top three, most of the placement points, but essentially two solos against the duo of Acorn and Bolts. And now the zone pulling down the mountain again. A perfect scenario for Vico to stay alive just a little bit longer to get that top two situation. But now what do? You're going against Acorn and Bolts. They have 6 eliminations. They have tons of materials. They have 2 different win conditions, because if they want to wait until the last zone, they can shockwave out and win by heal off.
Look, I am all for everything that Vico has been able to accomplish in this lobby so far, Jacob. The fact that he has converted this into a second place opportunity for Malabuka is incredible scenery. But now, with the pullback, Vico is left trying to just stay in alert position. Bolts is off on the hunt, but he's still staying right next to Acorn's side. They just have so much white heal ammunition. They don't need to rush it. Vico only has so many more options before he completely runs out of space to work with. As Acorn Bolts, they continue to spray away at the builds. Vico doing everything in his power to try and stay alive, but I fear we are only watching the inevitable unfold here, Jacob. Vico might be able to try and shift things up, but he's going to need to pull out all the stops here, and it doesn't look like it'll be enough as Bolts finally going in for the closing shot. The elimination's good to go, and we've got a victory royale.
From the backside of the mountain to the top of the summit, Acorn and Bolts have just won a game, and that's back-to-back with NA on top, and they have to be feeling out of this world, Frankie.
Acorn and Bolts, the casters were saying, you must be feeling out of this world with that victory royale.
Yeah, very ecstatic. We pulled every zone, you know, very lucky, but of course, Acorn was IGLing very well, nice height tarps, and you know, we're one of the best duos in the world, so nothing's gonna stop us.
You're looking like it. Acorn, sometimes the commentators say that you take a little bit of time to warm up on day one. You don't have day one here. You've only got 6 games to do it, but it looks like you're feeling yourself right now.
I mean, yeah, I seen Cold Rapid win a game. You know, we had to follow them. And they on top, baby, let's go.
Have you guys all had a conversation in North America back in the player lounge to say, you know what, let's do this. Let's take this away from Europe.
Oh yeah, we're all doing it for NA, you know, and Twisted Minds, of course, one of the best orgs in the world.
Well, guys, you definitely gave us all a show. We're going to head to a break. When we come back, game number 3.
I'll go here. I'm popping in that bit. Wait, so. Got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you're mid, wait. 100? 100? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Fortnite fam, welcome back to the FNCS Summit. We got Mini Miner, we got 11-2K, and for a moment, I'm gonna put my NA bias mask on. NA on top, baby! NA on top! All right, sorry about that. I'm gonna take my NA bias mask off. Crazy stuff. Big W here. Mini help.
Big W here for...
Look, I'm happy for my boys, because it's a great win.
Yep.
It's great, and they needed that, especially with all the question marks around them being NA's last hope. It's a good sign of what's to come, I think, for those two.
Yeah, really nicely played from these guys as well. I think they identified, of course, that the zone was going up on this absolutely gigantic hill. They took height really early, and I think if we've watched a lot, if you guys at home have watched a lot of Fortnite at the higher level, we've seen that if you take height early, 11, it doesn't usually go too well. But because these guys still had so many of those builds, and more importantly, all the teams down below spent so many builds trying to get up that hill, they could just ride out for success here and did really well at it.
Yeah, and ultimately a comfortable game for these two, right? It's a very favorable zone. They didn't have to spend much of the game sort of running about all over the map, and it sort of gives them that sort of momentum as they get into the end game to play for height. We know it's something that Acorn can do, even if it isn't what his go-to strategy is. And, you know, Bolt said it in my interview with him. He believes Acorn is the best IGL in the world. That confidence to follow him and then deliver with the fragging, it's a great combination.
Dude, so sick to see this, right? Like, again, and what's tough, right, is there are so many incredible, like any duo in this lobby could win, and I'd be just amped, right? Because this is kind of like a sneak peek at what like a globals could look like. So to see them come out on top, massive stuff. Take a look at these beautiful standings. Yapko and Pans are currently sitting in that #1 spot. What's interesting as well, the teams just in front and just behind them fall early on, right? This is a huge window for them to make a move. And man, with duos like this, Mini, the moment you give them that opportunity, they will strike.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, they're making the most of those games, those early 2 games right there. 17 eliminations for them as well, Evan. This is a duo we've seen on EU performing very well here as well.
I think Zeke might have pulled the trigger on the whole NA on top thing a bit too soon, better, because that was an EU team on top, broski. What's going on?
No, my NA bias mask is currently off.
Okay,
That's right.
It's fallen off quite quickly, actually. What happened there?
Let me come back to EU. It's all good. I'll come back over. Yeah, anyway, seeing them all go crazy as well. And even in those last final moments, right? Seeing Vico super down low as a solo. Again, all of these singular interactions, these little decisions that every single player makes will make a difference, right? Because remember, we're just trying to stay in that top half of the leaderboard right now, and clutches like this are what we need.
Well, it makes a difference. I mean, remember at the beginning of the day, we were saying, Vico, you posted on socials, you were nervous at the beginning of the day, right? We're not seeing too many of those nerves right here, and a really, really important game for these guys. We saw it on the leaderboard right there. They jumped up 10 places by getting the 2nd place right here, and it wasn't easy for them, Levin, on the side of this hill. I just mentioned it. All those teams down below, these guys are one of them, low on the materials, had to rely on their aim, which Vico is very good at, and ultimately a very, very good game for them, making advantage of that zone.
Yeah, and I'm glad we get to see Vico strut his stuff a bit, because really and truly, there are not many players on this stage that are better fraggers than Vico. He is one of the elitist in the world, and if he was feeling any nerves like you were alluding to, Mini, they surely are gone now after that game.
I love that he mouthed it. I don't know if you can tell. He said, I tried. And you know,
really did.
He did. In that circumstance, man, you look up, you're like, yeah, this is a little bit cooked. Old Man Mountain did take his toll, but again, we just seen a handful of really good games back to back, and then we'll be okay, right? So I'm excited to see them. I appreciate that Vico, of course, he's pretty emotional, but he's very content. He's like, hey, he wasn't even like, oh man, I can't believe. He's like, yeah, I tried. You know, I did what I could. Sky and Scroll as well, another EU team though, going crazy. I'm excited to see more from them. But man, again, it's just like with so many names in this lobby, dude, it's just like, it's like a feast, right? It's awesome.
I was glad to see them make it a bit deeper, because that first game, Mini, it scared me.
Yeah.
We obviously watch EU, right, together.
A lot.
We're not used to seeing Sky and Straw not deep into an end game, and so I thought, I hope the occasion hasn't gotten to them. Clearly not, because this is exactly what Sky was doing when they won an FNCS on the EU. Clutching up in these end games, in big moments, in uncomfortable situations, hitting shots like this. And again, we want to see more of it today.
And this is one of the things we were talking about all season long. Both of them are so good individually that no matter what one of them goes down, the other one still has all of the firepower necessary to clutch up. And that's what Sky just did right there. Yes, of course, it wasn't an amazing game for them. Yes, of course, they're not moving their way up in the leaderboard absolutely massively. But what is important for them is just keeping them in the tournament, keeping them inside, of course, that contention for the top 25. Because realistically, I mean, we expect these guys to qualify through. So when they make it to endgame as a duo, when the zone is on a massive hill, expect to see these guys on top.
And earlier with Tokata and of course Vivid, we kind of talked about the meta within the meta. What are you guys seeing now with about a minute out? Obviously, kind of what you called out, Sky and Skrull, dude, we're seeing them win games, we're seeing them go crazy, but suddenly we're finding ourselves in a solo clutch situation. It's got to be the quality of this lobby, right?
It's difficult. It's also very difficult to sort of predict what's going to happen in these lobbies. You play EU, you play the scrims, you know the teams around, you know how your drop spot's going to work, how they play Surge, and that's a key element of their strategy. But when you come up in this lobby against all these other regions playing their own styles, their own strategies, ultimately it's tough for them to predict what's going on.
I think as far as meta within meta goes, right? One thing we saw in Game 1 and here in Game 2 is teams who maybe we don't traditionally consider height teams being opportunistic, being aggressive towards height when getting favorable zones, right? Cold and Rapid, again, it was a zone where they had a bit more to work with than the rest of the lobby. They thought, let's take height. Same thing with Acorn and Bolts there. If you are a team who maybe you don't usually play height, if you had a favorable zone, maybe you do have to go for it.
Yeah, man, again, it's with the top 25, you know, we just need those few games. I'm almost wondering, like, is there still a bit of those nerves? I know we're only 2 games in, but we're almost halfway through, right? We need that pop-off game.
Well, that's the thing. You have to throw the nerves out the window now as we get on to the rest of this tournament. If you need a win, you need a big game, height ultimately still is a very, very good way of going about that. Even if a lot of the other teams aren't playing it, it almost gives you that green light. But of course, if you're one of those teams that are outside of that top 25, so many other teams will be thinking to do the same. And that's when it becomes really messy, especially with these overdrive grenades. Anything can happen. So it's a bit tame right now, but of course, we'll see how things develop.
I'll be honest. I'm looking at these guys on our screen here. Deemish, Dom.
Yeah.
I think I saw, shout out to my guy Spudson, I think I saw him talking about them where he was talking about all the different EU teams that people have been bigging up going into the competition, right? People are looking at Liko Malabuka, Shark and Teeny, Sky and Skrull. Why are we not talking more about Dom and Deemish? I think they've had, I guess by their standards, maybe a slightly more quiet year compared to the quality you'd expect for them. But you can never count these guys out because every time people did over the course of last year, they overcame expectations. And I think there's a good chance we see them do that today.
Yeah, and I was speaking to their coach, Sven, and he was saying, of course, they've had a few issues. Of course, the drop spot situation this season has been really difficult. They've had to switch around. They haven't found that home. And even this weekend, they've had to switch drops as well. Of course, they're now going towards that west side of the map. And I think the key word that I use to describe these guys, particularly this season, is just adaptability. Every single time they try and change something up, they try something new. They're just such a great team together. Of course, Sven's going to be helping with that so much as well. It just seems to work for them. And that's such a valuable asset to have in this lobby in particular, because again, as I mentioned earlier, you don't know what things are going to happen. You don't know who's going to be rotating where. So if you can have that adaptability, it's going to pay dividends.
I have decided to be the designated vibe assessor and vibe monitor at the LAN. You know, watching every player's vibe, figuring out who's comfortable, who's maybe a bit nervous. Every time I've seen Deemish and Dom, they just look comfy. They don't look like a young team who has only ever played at one big LAN and maybe are still feeling a bit nervous. They just seem like ready for this occasion, and that, you know, goes a long way in these types of cups.
That's interesting, Levin, because even at the beginning of the show, when you guys had that opportunity to kind of talk with different players, there was several that were kind of like, hey, this kind of feels like home. This kind of feels like I've been here before, or I have been here this many times. Like, that is such an advantage, right? For some of these players seeing their first LAN, they're thinking, this crowd is really loud. This desk isn't my desk. I have this comfort level at home that isn't here.
Yeah, I think the beauty of us being, you know, another year into VF and CS is earlier on, right? We used to be at these events and we used to go, half the lobbies never played at a LAN, right? And it's like now you sort of look at people and you're like, no, these guys have been here, right? And you do feel that comfortability. You're right. I think it goes a long way. You don't have to think about, oh, am I going to be all right? Am I going to be nervous? Like, you just know what you need to do on the stage.
Look at this leaderboard. I just looked down. I took a little look. I look. Benno, Curb, up 9 places in 9th place right now. It's crazy, you know, when you start to look at the disparity of the points, crazy. You're like, oh, Yapko Panzer 172. What the heck? 10th place, 76. Even Darkos and Minori there. You know, these games will go any which way. But to see Curb and Benno, dude, you know, we just love Benno. We're Benno stands here.
I don't love Benno anymore.
Oh, sorry about that.
He's coming for my job. All that analysis he was doing with us.
I was shaking.
When I saw him reach for that telescope, I said, I am finished.
Yeah, he was like, can I draw? And I was like, oh, he wants to be a commentator. He's trying to be an analyst.
You might as well have said, oh, sorry, can I take your job real quick? Instead of saying, can I draw? Because, I mean, that's what he is, though. He's a great mind in the game, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely crucial in terms of Curve's development as well. We've seen him just rising to the occasion time after time, and being with someone like Venno, it's going to pay dividends for him as well.
Fantastic stuff, guys. I'm getting word. The next game is ready to go. So, casters, take it away.
With EU on top of the leaderboard, NA winning back-to-back games, I had to invite a little friend on over to let us know what he's thinking about the action.
Listen, man, I was feeling too energized after watching those first two games that I had to go ahead. I had to jump on with my pals right here and get into the mix and see what's going to be happening live.
And this guy sees NAC succeeding. All of a sudden, he wants to keep the yap going. Vivid, how many teams are you going to pick up here? But we're going to find out in Game 3. Ready to go.
I'm going to be hyping all of the teams while I'm up here, taking the opportunity to call out all of the boys. But we know kind of where the focus has been in the early game. I feel like Wonkyland, we got to go ahead and mention that. We got to go ahead and take a little peek that way, because if we take a look at the score overall, it's got to be 1-1. But a quick moment before we jump over there, Chapped and Flixie on the other side of the map.
Yep, 2-0 off spawn at the new Sanctuary. There was a couple of scares in Game 1 where after those eliminations, Chap did go down, but Flixie picked him right back on up. He said, no, I'm not ready to have you go down just yet. But they get beat. They get beat by a long shot by Romero and Leiwa.
Leiwa and Romero have been waiting for the opportunity to strike back. They've really got to get some points building on the board, and they need it to start now before we're done with the halfway point. But trouble is still striking everywhere else. Agers and Ritual, they are chasing down Cooper, Reed, Higgs, Clicks, being absolutely ran down by Teeny and Shark. There is no escape. Vivid, you might have picked the wrong opportunity to jump on here.
Trouble in paradise. If you take a look over how good Clicks and Higgs have been doing off spawn over the past couple of days, the confidence is probably what led them to actually make the final decision to land at Wonkyland. But I can't lie, when the stakes matter, when everything matters here on the upper bracket, man, falling short.
Yeah, let's see how this off-spawn fight actually went. I did see some third-party shots coming into the mix, but Higgs gets beat off-spawn for the floor loot. Teeny takes him down. He's trying to run away, but eventually it gets all cut short. An interesting decision, though. We did not see them try to chase down Clicks as a solo, so we can see the return of Higgs.
They know that there's just too many other opportunities here, but Agers first, he's going to look to bring down Reed. Cooper somewhere left stranded now. What was originally just, pleasant vibes between the two NA teams has immediately turned into a clash here as Ritual and Agers, I feel like they're on the hunt right now for Cooper.
I mean, they should be, right? Maybe they're a little bit jealous. Hey, listen, this duo was landed at our same drop spot. They're a little bit higher up on the leaderboard. Nah, we got to take the fight to them. So Latte landing up there. We can kind of see how that one is painted out. Cooper obviously going to be wanting to run away, but it looks like Jacob, Ritual, and Agers are kind of on the hunt. They might have a little bit of information as to where he is currently at.
Yeah, they just realized they just want to make sure he's pushed far enough away so he can't sneak in and loot the north side of Latte Landing. So they're going to go ahead and work their way from the north all the way down to the south. And because they already have the early sense of the zone pulling towards the north, they're not in a hurry either. And this is one of the biggest changes to Latte Landing with the golden fishing spots. It's almost a guaranteed chance that they're able to get some sort of gold loadout.
And other teams are still looking to try and seal their own fates with these early off-spawn battles. Golden Knight looking to disengage. Tinka resigns. They don't want to draw any third-party intervention here, and they're already looking to just try and create a little bit of space here. Going to start cranking up, but there's only so much material left for them to work with here at New Sanctuary. They're going to have to eventually look for either a fight and a refresh or just a full retreat here, but it's going to be tough because Chat Blixie, they look like they had primary control in New Sanctuary.
Kind of channeling that aggressiveness that we were talking about earlier on, right? Brazil, they love to play that aggressive game. We've heard it in interviews. It feels like the region itself just plays so fast, so aggressive. And then when you show up here on LAN, everything kind of slows down. So there's going to be a big adjustment here for duos like Gone and Knight. As you can see, they did try to go ahead and push Rezons and Tinka, but quickly being held off. And once they kind of reassess, are like, wait a minute, we do not have those materials to continue to play the way that we want to. Full reset, and they do got to be careful because these type of fights, they make a lot of noise for all of the other surrounding duos.
Yeah, and this is just one of those sides of the map where it can get messy. From the New Sanctuary inside of that bowl to the surrounding land, it's almost hard to get out as you jump on board Peterbot and Poyo, making a quick rotation south towards Humble Hills. They're trying to go ahead and interact with some of these contested fights that we know Muzz and Sphinx, Nebs and Nathan are doing at Humble Hills. They've seen them go north, but they've been followed by Hari and Cammy. So it's interesting decisions how we're going to see them play this one out because 16 points. I don't think anybody would have guessed them this low on the leaderboard coming into game 3.
Now, things have definitely dissipated a little bit there too. 4P and Poyo, you could tell they weren't able to find anything in Humble. They're just going to default back on over to Squiggly Shores, but Pablo, Chino, here at Sandy Strip, they have plenty of company nearby, probably more neighbors than they're actually looking for, at least for the early starting measures. But Sandy Strip, we knew it was going to be triple contested since the start of this day, Jacob, and I really can't help but wonder whether or not some of these duos are going to choose to stick around.
Well, I do know for sure that Mini Pio and Fukun, they've already kind of left Sandy Strip. We do see them there now, rotating with the zone. But I was talking to Kanata in between one of those games. He said, yeah, we made them leave. We only have to deal with one team now. It's Chino and Pablo. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too excited because there are huge threats to this lobby, but at least one less team that they have to worry about.
Vico and Malabuka here towards Frigid Fortress. I feel like those first two zones were pretty favorable. Whenever we took a look at the leaderboard, pretty much every single team that landed on the northeast side of the map, I saw a little arrow upwards next to their name, obviously picking up big points, but you're going to have to go a little bit higher than that. Yapko and Panzer right now sitting pretty first place, 180 points, and I can't lie, the biggest difference, it's all in the eliminations.
And that's also a very worrying factor for so many of these other teams because we know top 25 can be forgiving, but at the same time, what if you're a duo that's trying to contest the team looking to claim their drop spot outright for finals? And that's where Cooper finds himself in a bit of a hole here currently, forced out of Latte landing by Agers and Ritual, but he had nowhere left to run to. Latte is just so far north of the map, the only places that he could look to retreat towards were straight into the hands of other duos.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate that the zone is still floating around the north side of the map, because if we had a far southern zone or even towards the northwest, but most of those teams would be out of here already. Maybe a few sprinkled around, but it'd be definitely easier than this. Getting pushed by Jargu, sliver of HP. Carillion from the other side, they pick up that elimination. And there's one thing about Carillion and Jargu. It's a team you could almost never count out. They got in through that last opportunity, switching teammates. They get into the FNCS finals at the bottom of that bubble.
And you can see their kind of slow approach to that fight as we take a look towards another fight that has seemingly reached a bit of a stalemate. We're going to be looking at Aminish and Javi. They hear that overdrive grenade go off. They're going to be taking a look. They're not going to fall short to a little bit of a fooled plan, similar to how Shark and Tini did earlier on. They can actually see the players disappear off in the distance, so they know they actually did use that grenade to go ahead and rotate out.
Like the idea there, though, from Bakusin here. They don't need to stick around. They've actually had a lot of success already on the starting point today. I believe they were in that 8th place position on the leaderboard entering this halfway point of today's competition. So the only things really left to do is wait and see what are Chino and Pablo going to do with this legendary POI.
Oh my gosh, what are Pablo and Chino going to do with it? What is the rest of the lobby going to do with it as well? Take a look at the map. I can't even count that high, Jacob. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. I think there's like a solo in there somewhere as well. The zone seemingly is going a little bit further south of Sandy Strip, but every single team is looking to claim some early real estate towards this POI.
I think they heard you, because as you said 7, another team floated. Wait for us. We want to join the party as well. And there's so many others in the outskirts. So for Chino and Pablo, they kind of have a little bit of advantage here. They were the first to set their flag at this POI. So every team that rotates in thereafter will not know exactly where they're at, what builds are theirs. So you got to be very, very cognizant of getting caught off guard.
Size and Scary, they are one duo that is yet to throw their name into the hat for contention over by Sandy Strip. They're still hanging out near Builders Barracks, and Size, Scary, the Spaniards hoping to try and represent, but at the same time, Jacob, coming from that EU nation, they've had a lot of experience with dealing with aggressive fighting styles, and yet still here today, sitting at only 20 points.
Yeah, I'm not too worried just yet. This is game 3, so by the time this one's over, that's when you really look at the leaderboard and see how much the point thresholds control your destiny. But coming into this one, I was thinking, okay, you need 3 decent performances maybe to get top 25, 2 pop-off games, or in some cases, if you're Yapko, Panzer, Cold Rapid, or Acorn and Bolts, you might just need 1.
Peterbot and Pollo back and forth between POIs, right? They continue to try to find some sort of successful aggression. As you can see right there, 1 elimination on Peterbot right now. I did see off screen that's actually going to come off of the back of a reboot, so they were fully aware of the opportunity with that. And I did have sort of like a drive-by conversation with Fax today. I was like, dude, we got to be feeling good, right? Back-to-back NA wins. He was like, dude, I want Peterbot and Pollo to get in the mix, though.
Yeah, this is just so tough, though, because they are looking to get involved, but sadly, Minutes, Alco, the last thing that they ever wanted to see is Peterbot and Pollo barreling down on their position. Cammy and Huddy still hanging out by the lighthouse, though, tells me that they're just going to be looking to trail P and Pollo. They're not going to allow them to freely rotate, and that's going to potentially be a thorn in the side there for P and Pollo later on.
Yeah, huge annoyance, because they're a team that, you kind of said it yourself when you were talking to Fax, that they like to get aggressive. We want to see them get aggressive, but this isn't just an NAFNCS. This is the best of the entire world when it comes to Fortnite. You're not going to get the same opportunities. Those windows will be smaller, and I think they're learning that with each and every game goes by, and that's why you think you see a huge drastic change out of the game plan in game 3 for Peterbot and Pollo.
Yeah, and keep a close eye on all of these teams like Noah and Reason, who actually went ahead. They left Sandy a little bit earlier on, right? We did see them kind of base up on one of those tall buildings. As you can see on the north side of the zone as it currently stands, what do we have? 4 duos kind of posted up here, ready to catch all of those rotates from all of those Sandy teams that we just kind of talked about. Because the zone pulls a little bit further south, all of those teams are eventually going to have to leave Sandy, which provides a great opportunity for anybody that left early to kind of base up and get all of the damage that they might need.
Reason just being proactive, shooting out trees, preventing other duos from having the opportunity to hide behind that natural terrain coverage. Curve and Benno, though, entirely different strategy. They're still hanging out in Battlewood Boulevard. They're hoping to see if they can pick up some additional points here off the eliminations, and they might just find exactly what they're after. Hamed trying to escape. Victor nowhere left to run as Benno just easily clears those 2 out with Curve.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned on NA when Venno won his inter-regional championship from EU and NA is you don't mess with the guy in his drop spot. Multiple times in that major final, teams were trying to steal away his loot. He just chased them down and sent them packing back to the lobby, which kind of helped his game plan because of Surge. But not everybody has that luxury being uncontested. Muzz and Sphinx know that to be a fact. Nebs and Nathan are contesting them off drop. It does seem like in this game they're splitting it, but what does that do to their loadout and their confidence?
Little check-in here with Pablo and Chino. We know that they land Sandy Strip, 280 damage above right now. They're going for some code. They're going for a little bit of a sneaky play onto some players, but everybody in the surrounding area is taking full advantage. They've done big damage on the Pablo and Chino. They're going to be forced to refresh right now. When we tune into them, they were 260 above, but as soon as they went ahead and took that fight, seemingly took about 100 damage, and their net surge dropped by just that.
Ager's Ritual, they might have been one of those duos involved possibly even Ukun and Minifio. Shots were definitely exchanged. I don't even think it was Dharm and Demish. They just immediately coned themselves off, prevented those tags coming through, but Pixie won't be able to weather the storm. Can Swizzy fare any better here? Still getting lit up by these surge tags. He has to find a full elimination, 192 below. He knows that there are players fighting nearby, but will he actually have a chance to strike?
Yeah, and he's officially on a clock. He has about 130 of HP to heal in this situation, which is not much. We're in the 5th zone. Now he's taking behind. It's going to go 2 to a 5 tick and active surge. All that damage is going to start to add up, and he is still below the damage threshold. 346. That's almost essentially 2 eliminations here that Swizzy needs to get by himself with his back pushed up against the wall. Even further now is Doxy, maybe X-Pawn as well, are trying to get elimination of their own.
Yes, Mary, no opportunity to go ahead and let Swizzy get any damage here as they're going to be using the overdrive grenades to go ahead and disengage. That is worst case scenario for Swizzy. For somebody that needs to do 300 damage, you want to be close, you want to be personal, because the shotgun is going to be your best friend. But as you can see right now, the chase is on. Not only does he need to go ahead and pick up both of these eliminations seemingly right now, but he needs to get in the zone. Finally, a tag comes in, 12 HP to work with, 2 ticks left. Swizzy's going to be going down.
There were only so many places left for Swizzy to actually venture through, and Doxy X-Pawn, they just played that one excellently. They knew that he was trapped. He had nowhere left to run to, and just like that, we're right back here at Sandy Strip, and the cube is going to be his worst nightmare right now for Minifio. It sent everyone flying, but Chino, what kind of aim course is he running over here?
I need his routine right now. That was one of the most insane things I've seen in quite a while. Not only getting the knock mid-air, but cleaning up the eliminations, and that is exactly why they land at Sandy Strip. They know teams will float around and try to use that as a mode of rotation. We've seen multiple teams, not just them, get caught out because of it.
Super hard to make those rotations when there are just so many teams around. Speaking of hard rotations, Peterbot and Pollo landed all the way on the west side of the map, had to make their way all the way over here to Sanctuary. That being said, I feel like they found themselves in a very favorable position. 500 damage above, as I say that, drop that down to 300. But they have pretty much the higher ground secured as it currently stands. We know they love to play higher ground taco. Can they actually hold on to this throughout the rest of the game?
This is definitely the best sort of position that we have seen Peterbot and Pollo all 3 games so far today. Sky Scroll, on the other hand, though, way off in the distance, separated from the rest of the lobby, trying to see if they can just break in to the edge of zone, hoping that they get a chance to try and take out any duos that might be looking to try and cut them off, but instead will find a secure position to start tarping out, securing space, and now they can take the chance to look back.
Yeah, this is the point in the game where you have to stay alive. You've been in it for 7 zones. There's 26 teams. One more falls, and you start to get those placement points, so you don't want to have to look back and say, we wasted a lot of opportunities here throughout the tournament. Placement points are now starting to come in. 25 teams still up. But you see 49 players. That means someone in this lobby is running around as a solo.
Malabuka and Vico, right? They almost found the opportunity right there on Yuma and Koyoto. As you can see right now, the zone is actually pulling north. And when a pull like this happens, any team that's already based up here is going to have the opportunity to pick up the higher ground. And that's going to be Yuma and Koyoto as it currently stands. Tuning in with Sky and Scroll. We just looked at these guys 45 seconds ago. They had 21 materials to their name. Elims are going to be helping out with that.
And that's exactly where Sky was able to get the party started here with Chance and Tyler. The moment that they claim that front side low ground position, they are right back in the most comfortable driving seat. That's exactly where they had so much success in the EU Major 1 finals, and it looks like they finally managed to replicate it here in Game 3. But Demish, Dharm, talk about a duo that has been on the upswing all 3 games so far today. They've just been establishing their own territory. But Vico Malabuka, big knock opportunity here, taking out Veno.
Yeah, they don't even necessarily need this fight. 3 players go down, no more Storm Surge. 1,100 for them. Some shots coming in, so they're going to fall down just a little bit, but they're holding their ground. They know they have extra materials, so they're not afraid to overbuild and spend those mats.
Taking a look bottom right, I see Sky and Scroll already kind of establishing that low ground that they are known for. Cold and rapid throughout the day. They've been known for coming out swinging, right? Winning game number 1. But I would imagine now that all the other teams are kind of feeling comfortable towards the higher ground, maybe they go ahead and go back to what they're used to.
But even with this elevation not really being a huge turning point, because we are in that south section of the map, Teeny, Shark, they're still on the high ground. They're still looking to take players out along the way. Shark able to help bring down Yapko, and they are still looking for more, Jake, as they continue tarping overhead, but you are never safe. You are not high enough to avoid the rest of the lobby just yet.
Yeah, especially in a meta where you got shockwaves and you got that fizz grenade, so you gotta expect things to happen at a moment's notice. Even Hari came, he trying to go ahead and shockwave forward, but they stayed on both separate ends for Sky and Scroll. They're making sure nobody can get a free flank. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Poyo, they're in the thick of it down below. They're trying to get as much damage, maybe even elimination. As of now, they're good on their loadout. They're good on loot, but they know eventually they're going to need an elimination.
So easy for this duo to quickly kind of change targets. Why nobody is pretty much safe when you are anywhere near that duo. They're going to be needing an elimination, and just as I say that, Rezon finds himself on the opposite side of things. Peterbot's going to be dropping down. The mats come in, but now they go ahead and need to make the rotation necessary that they need, and I'm sure we're going to be finding another elim that they're going to need, of course.
Well, we saw a big solo clutch for placement points out of Vico in the last lobby. Can Malabuka do the same here in game 3? Overdrive grenade with a little bit of a stimmy effect on the movement, but look at Cold and Rapid. Isolated in the mid-ground, trying to take out players as they look back. Sky and Scroll, though, just left to their own devices here, completely trying to shut down what Cringe and Twy have going on, but instead, they'll find themselves looking to stay moving forward. They still want to control front side. They still want to make sure that nobody else is going to be able to take over.
Yeah, sometimes for Sky and Scroll, you need to stumble before you wake up and start to play to your full potential, and this game is a real example of that. Same thing for Rapid and Cold. They won game 1, and then they had a huge hurdle in their path for game 2, and this is a chance to make up for it. Meanwhile, Vico, Malabuka, one of the most consistent teams we have still alive in this lobby, even as a solo, as Peterbot tries to run down one, but he's the one that ends up falling. Poyo now alive, but shots coming in from all directions. You see him scrambling around, trying to build and protect himself until he officially runs out of mats.
We'll have to see what Poyo can do right here, trying to find some sort of calm in the chaos right now as he takes one quick breath right here. Malabuka, no opportunity for him to kind of slow down right now. He's kind of feeling the pressure from duos all around him. He's going to be taking the opportunity to go ahead and jump into the storm as Scroll and Sky, look how comfortable these guys must feel. They have claimed the low ground.
Thomas and Focus had the right idea. They wanted that front side level. Poyo still doing it. Resigns, taken out. Malabuka now as a solo won't be able to keep the ball rolling here. Sky finds that elimination, but now back on height. It's Rapid and Cold already looking to try and drop a little bit further. He wants the refreshes, he wants the eliminations. He knows that he can trust Rapid to just hold things down on height, but Poyo trying to take out Teeny. It's an even exchange here, but Poyo coming out on top because Twy is no longer in existence.
Yeah, gets that elimination, almost stolen by Cold and Rapid up above, but now they drop down. They said, hey, we're not going to steal that one, but they're going to take you out. Cold and Rapid on top, on high ground right now. Winners of game 1. Sky and Scroll are EU FNCS champions, and then you have Cringe. He can play the Thorn in this entire mix.
But take a look at Rapid. He's looking for opportunities to go ahead and help secure this 2v2. He's trying to pick up all the materials that he possibly can, trying to look for some angles. The overdrive grenade comes up. Sky and Scroll want to take the fight to Cold and Rapid. Scroll does that, finds the Elin, finds the knock on the Cold. They're going to be looking for the opposing player as well. Rapid, though, somehow amongst all the chaos, ends up on height.
And Scroll, just like that, realizes his duo's in trouble, but Scroll, he's going to take over. Rapid has been eliminated. Now the 1 versus 1. This is everything right now for Sky and Scroll to finally get their chance to strike back. Cringe from overhead. He gets the leverage. Scroll with only 2 builds remaining. Can he find the closing shot? Just needs to get that max hit off the Chaos Reloader, but sure enough, Scroll can't do it. Cringe has won it out, and that's going to be game 3 for Cringe and Twy.
We had Cold and Rapid. We had Sky and Scroll. We had Cringe and the Shadows. And like thieves in the night, these guys have just stolen away game 3 at the Major 1 Summit LAN. You got to imagine at this point in time, when you're playing that long as a solo, to come out on top and actually win the game, they have to be feeling great.
Cringe and Twy, can you believe you just took down Sky and Scroll?
Sky and Scroll, really?
It was Sky and Scroll. It was that 2v2 situation. Talk me through it.
I mean, like, shit was just easy, I'm not gonna lie.
Really? Was it really that easy? Because it looked quite tense for all of us watching.
I mean, bro, it wasn't that easy. He had to solo clutch it.
Well, you know what, British players, you know, we have to talk a big game. So talk to me about your game then. What is the plan here in Düsseldorf?
I mean, you just run around, eliminate everyone, and just win every endgame you make.
And it's interesting because I feel like some of the European teams have actually struggled with the zones with net surge. How have you been finding it?
Net surge? I mean, you just run deep and chill. That's about it.
So all you got to do is just W that key.
Yeah.
Yeah? King the W?
Yeah.
So, Düsseldorf, what do we think of Quiet and Cringe? Okay then, that's 3 games done. We're going to have a short break. When we come back, we'll be assessing all the action so far.
I got here. I'm popping in that bit. Wait, so. Got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you're mid play. 100? 100? Oh my god, look! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Fortnite fam, welcome back to the FNCS Summit. Cringe and Twy get themselves a victory royale in a 1v1 situation.
Hold on.
Yeah?
I want to put my UK bias hat on.
Oh.
And I want to say UK on top. Cringe and Twy doing it for the boys.
I forgot my hat.
I got one for you.
You got another one?
I got one for
Thanks,
anyone that wants to join the bandwagon.
UK fans out there, represent.
Oh man, you guys can't give it like this, all right? You gotta give me some time. Man, congrats to them seeing them get a victory out in that situation. I can't believe it as well against Sky and Stroll, man. For like just a moment, I really believe Sky and Stroll, this is it, their moment, game 3, they're gonna strike. And then Cringe said, sorry about that. I've made my way here based on my skill, my merit, my prowess. Stroll, you're gonna have to sit down this time.
What a performance from Cringe here at the end. I mean, to take down Sky like that, to 1v2, the best duo in EU coming into today. I mean, what a performance from him individually. This is a duo that we've seen rising up throughout the course of EU, a team that we have expectations of because of their talent level, a team that's developing and coming through. And yes, we're going to be biased because they're UK. Yes, I'm sure Resub at home is watching. I think he's actually in the arena. Very happy. He'll be very happy, of course, because Cringe is Scottish. But this is a team that are actually genuinely improving. They're getting better, you know, bias hat off. They're looking good.
Yeah, great fundamentals, great mechanics. I think we know that. You saw that at the end, right? Cringe wins because he has the really nice right hand, and Scroll in a situation where you just couldn't even see it, right, to hit the shot back. I think the big thing with obviously Cringe as well is in solo situations like that, he sort of burst onto the scene last year as a solo player, right? And because of his results in solo, so you know he's comfortable in those moments where he is alone. And obviously that arrogance, that cockiness sort of helps him as well, right? I'm glad Twice sort of brought him back down to earth. Like, no, mate, it was hard, but you did it, you know?
Yeah, he's like keeping him humble. You know, that's a mark of a really good friend, right? Like just dial it back a little bit. On the other side, obviously, Sky and Scroll. You know, what started as a really tough start to Summit upper bracket. Now, you know, suddenly we're starting to pick up the pace, taking it all the way to a second place with a ton of eliminations. I feel like this is a Sky and Scroll we're kind of used to seeing.
I'd have to say, yeah, right? I think we've seen games like this from them in the EU Major Finals where they are just together. They are able to sort of get through on this low ground. I think Vivid called it out really well where you could see what they were trying to do very early on into that end game as far as establishing low ground. And even though there are more teams trying to do it, right, after seeing their success, they are still just the best in the world when it comes to claiming that layer.
Yeah, I think it was around 10th zone. They took that front side low, and I was like, yeah, really nice zone. Front side of a low take from these guys. And ultimately, because they played it so much, they were able just to bat away any of the competition. I think Thomas HD was down there at one point as well, trying to take it. Unfortunately, of course, couldn't close out the game successfully, but what's that, 10 eliminations for these guys? You mentioned it, Zeke. Not the greatest start for them, but a huge comeback, and that's what individual games can do in this form.
Yeah, and that might be enough to just suddenly shoot them up the standings, right? I mean, especially like, look, Twy and Cringe 7th place, just below them, Sky and Scroll. It only takes one really good game like that, Mitty. So I love seeing that out of both of these duos. It just looks so good, right? And even all the way at the top, Yapko Panzer still firing on all cylinders, Vinny.
Yeah, it's great to see. I mean, we've all known that Panzer has been a very exciting talent ever since he sort of burst onto the scene in trios with Mr. Savage and Mongrel. A lot of people were saying he carried them to the success in Major 1 of trios. Then he's just keeping on developing, keeping on improving throughout that entire time. And now in duos, finding that teammate in Yapko that's really complementing his game style and gameplay is really paying dividends for him right now.
Yeah, I think the thing with these two is they've been rather inconsistent in EU, right? If you've been following EU, they have weeks where they look like, okay, this is the real deal. These guys are going to be one of the big teams in EU. And then they have a lot of weeks where it's pretty anonymous. And I think a lot of us were wondering which version of Yapko and Panzer we're going to see on the stage today. We got the best version possible, and I'm happy about it.
Dude, they've got to be happy about that too, right? Like, hey, we're looking good. We're on top right now. Let's just make sure we bring that energy back for finals, right? Wanted to also highlight Peterbot and Pollo. Finally, we get a game out of them where they are together. We do see this often, right? It's either Pollo or Peterbot as a solo, but finally kind of recognizing, okay, look, this is a high caliber lobby. If we're going to find that success, we need to stick together.
מה הקשר לטבוע היה מוזר אחד? מי יטבע כבר? כולנו משדר בערוץ שלי את הלייב, מותר לי לתת איזה סתום, יש מלא אנשים שעושים את זה, מפגר.
Sort of reminiscent of that, Levin. They've had their moments, they've had their ability to fight. We've seen them getting a few eliminations, but it's that togetherness, it's that over-eagerness maybe to try and go for these plays.
Yeah, not to be a nostalgia merchant, right? When you look at the last time we saw them as a duo on a stage like this, when they won Globals, they were playing a very different game to the rest of the lobby, right? That was always the big talking point. They had all these different advantages that meant that the game they were playing was different. Here in this lobby, they're having to figure out how everybody else is having to play the game, right? And that has been one of the themes of them this season is, you know, when they are in the situations where they have some huge advantage, can they play really good, fundamental, solid Fortnite? And I think they're starting to get there. They're starting to figure things out. It's a rough start, like you said, Zeke.
They don't go focus.
Games, and I think for these two especially, it's just about making sure they're playing on Sunday. No hiccups that send them into the lower bracket.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really good point, too, because you got to think back in NA, they kind of conditioned the lobby.
זה חרא הזה. מה? איך אני אמור לה... איך אני אמור לראות מי הזה? איזה בולשיט זה? הלו. רגע. מה? מה? הלו?
נגרוד.
בא לשחק?
אתה דפוק או דפוק? רגע, אני של סבתא שלי. מה?
מאיפה לי לדעת?
אתה לא בודק? אידיוט.
לא. למה שאני אבדוק?
לא. לא יודעת, מאיפה אני יודעת? תבדוק. מה?
אני לא בודק איפה כל אחד נמצא. כמוך. סטופיד.
אחי, כבר ראית אותי מחוברת, זה דפוק. לא דפה.
ים את הפה.
אני רואה.
תסתם את הפה, תסתם את הפה, זה לא יפה, תסתם את הפה שלך.
הלכתי אתמול לישון באיזה 2 וגם מבקשתי פנאי, תמות. אני רואה.
וואי, איזה בנדל נובר. איזה בנדל, יא רבי.
Disposo per fucking carry it, just look at the fucking fuck. I was fucking. I have a.
אמרתי לו אופק מה עשיתי, מה? תשחק, אני נכנסה לו עכשיו, חילה. כל טוב נעימה.
סבתא, אבא שותה ענבים שזה לא תירוש. מתי אתה עושה את זה?
טוב, את לא בא, ביי.
מה? די! תמות.
תמיתי.
Where are you from? I speak your language definitely. And I think you're the best player. What's up? Let's play right now. You stay here and you. Stay here and you. Oh, my Zero damage. Super I think you're the best player. What's up? Let's play right now. You stay here and you. Stay here and you. Oh, my Zero damage. Super
אבל למה, יא בת זונה, עשיתי לך כלום. שונא את המשחק הזה.